All right, hell yeah. So how do I get pieces that just fit in perfect? You know what I mean? Because it pushes this out exactly where I want it, and it gets that level exactly where I want it. And so we started with this piece. So, you know what I mean? I just kind of rough out exactly what I want. And so what we're going to do, oh, sorry about that. So we started with that piece. And then let me take this one out. And so, hey, this hit at a couple locations, I was able to, let's say, get this down in there. Hell yeah, right there. And I just had a gap right there. So I put this paper in, and that marked that corner, and then this corner, and then over here was fairly flush. I knew I needed to come up just a little bit. I don't have, I don't have all the cardboard in the world, so I'm going to use, you know what I mean? So there you go. So we got up to that location. But I don't know, now that I'm up to that location, I'll be like, well, maybe I'll make the same shape, but then make it higher. So I didn't think I would get so perfect on that. And then, yeah, so we'll see what we do there. All right, hell yeah. All right, hell yeah, it's going pretty good. So we got 2 baffles in, and all right, let me show you. So we even have a couple of these, you know what I mean, that can go on either side. And so hell yeah, so those fit right in. You know what I mean? We could flesh the whole thing out, but that's not my intention. It's because we have to be reasonable, and we don't know if we are going to, fiberglass this, try to get this to float. Mainly it's just kind of still a proof of concept of just like, hey, is this what I want, and how long does one take to build? Just with, a few hours a night. Hell yeah. What else? I was thinking of something. I guess just for my thoughts, it would make sense. This is the back flat area where I'm going to sit. This is kind of the neutral position, and this is the biggest planing surface. And now what I was wanting was to shift past the center point, which is right there, to be on a new planing surface. And so I think that you just have symmetry here. You have this, and then you taper it up. So we have a rounded curve through here, but this is almost flat with that. So that's worth testing. You know what I mean? I'll be able to kind of test that, but it would make sense to do what I want to do past the center point and then be on a new planing surface. And so I think you just make this steeper. So from there to there is your steeper rise compared to here to the back stern. This is kind of more flush just because this bow is already out of the water, in the neutral position from here to there, let's say. And then when we do angle onto the back of the boat, so when we do get to back here, then that can just start to lift the entire bow out of the water. Oh yeah, I'm glad I stepped on it, because this joint is just hardly very good at all. You know what I mean? And that isn't even attached to the foam, and that's the only thing that's going to hold on this outer tube. And so it's just kind of interesting that, I'm just going to visualize it. If I had a hockey stick going all the way across here, at each of these locations, then that would be enough to support this outer tube and hold the rigidity this way. But I have 0 holding the rigidity this way. And so that is a huge fail. Now, like once you do get the thing fiberglassed together, hell yeah, it would hold that rigidity. But that's just an expensive process. Oh, yeah, I totally forgot. You can do poor man's fiberglass, where you take painter's drop cloth from, Harbor Freight for like $14. You get huge amounts of it. And I could even use the drop cloths that are, need to be replaced for us. And then just a gallon of wood glue. And so Tidy Bond, I don't think this is called Tidy Bond. But anyway, that glue, you use number 2, Tight Bond, and might be called Tidy Bond. Anyway, then you lather it up. So whatever surface that you're trying to do poor man's fiberglass, you lather it up with that wood glue, and then you lay on the painter's drop cloth, and then you just roll it smooth. And it would make more sense to almost do it smaller batches at a time, just to make sure your joints are really smooth, because you wouldn't want any huge air bubbles, because it's not super rigid anyway. And I don't know if you'd get even enough rigidity out of that. It's more of like waterproofing something that's already like, got some structure to it. So anyway, booyah. All right, hell yeah. So we got some more baffles in. And so let's get these out of there. Okay, hell yeah. So I have those baffles. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down there. You know what I mean? So we can kind of see what that profile looks like. So hell yeah. So I think this wall is rigid now. And then I guess what I was thinking about was there is no structural support through here. This is just barely attached. And so this is why a round boat, you have this thing go all the way around as a full, rigid structure. And then it's not reliant, especially when you're leaning over onto an edge, it's not reliant on this joint. And so we are going to flesh this out in the back and have it horseshoe shaped. But even up here, even just for this experiment, to put to continue that around, wrap that around, and that should give this structure. And this should, have kind of that full circle, and that might hold it together, even though it's just cardboard and duct tape. Booyah.